Fuzzy dice? Check. Whack-a-con bobblehead doll? Check. Diesel incense? Check.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another fantastic Tuesday here on the Exploding Dice channel. My name is Askren, and I am your host for the evening. I would say I am your dungeon master, but I am not your only dungeon master. Because this is, as you can see right above my head, Fuzzy Dice, the Dungeon Master Show, and I am hanging out with two of my newest best friends here to this side of me. I have Mr. Troy and Mr. Skid from the Glass Cannon podcast. How is it going, my friends?
Good,
What's going
great.
on, guys?
Glad to be here. This has got like a Brady Bunch thing going on. Like,
Yeah, we all just... Where is everyone?
I feel like Alice.
I used to not know which way my camera was pointing, so I would like point to the wrong side of me. Oh Lord.
There, yeah.
And hello to everyone in chat. I'm gonna restart Ankbot because it's being not very interesting. It's not being very cool. My bot is down, but hello to everyone. If you guys are just joining us, please hit that retweet link. I will drop it in chat in just a second. Tell all your friends that we're live right now. Share that shit, and we'll be good to go. Optimus Rhyme, you can get out of here. Before we dive into the show, just a couple of really quick announcements. Okay, now my music's really loud. Before we get started, just a couple of things. If you guys are new to the channel, we have a lot of things going on here. We have nearly a full week of D&D streaming content. So that means that Monday we do some creative nights, some mini painting, though that may be changing. Tuesday we're here on Fuzzy Dice with your favorite Twitch streamers and podcasts and nerd celebrities. Actually, tomorrow I am going to be having a bonus episode of Fuzzy Dice. I'm hanging out with the awesome and the fantastic Holly Conrad from Wizards Dice Camera Action Show. So if you want some more D&D talk in your life, come check that out. And of course, Saturday, we have our Open Legend horror campaign, Writhing Moon, and then starting Sunday, we are just starting a brand new Mouse Guard campaign, so if you want to see some really awesome streamers playing cute little mice and killing other animals, that is the show for you. We also had a really crazy couple giveaways. Just the last time we were live, we announced the winners of our Wormwood gaming giveaway with the custom engraved deck box and the rolling tray and all that stuff. And we also announced the winner of that sponsored Dwarven Forge Kickstarter giveaway. So congratulations to our winners. We are going to have more giveaways. As you know, every month we do something really, really cool. I have announced it in the past, but this coming August, we are doing a giveaway with a ton of Epic's Haven terrain. They are a fantastic European terrain maker, and we have some big old boxes of their stuff to hook you guys up with. And last but not least, I am rocking the Dice Thulu shirt here. So if you guys want to join the madness and scare your small children and friends, you can get an awesome shirt like this, as well as the Dice Grenade shirt, at our store. It's just ! Merch, and Dice Thulu will have the link for you right there. So that is all the announcements that I have for today, because you guys are here not for me, but for these fantastic fellows right here. So why don't we just get right into it, guys? Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Like, who are you? Why are you here? And how did you get into my house?
I'm just like so mesmerized being on like a professional Twitch channel. It looks like I'm learning so much.
Are you on another stream at the same time? Because I'd tune into it.
No,
I see. That's the mistake. Oh, I see. I'm on Quill's channel. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we can start at the beginning. This whole project came out of Skid and I and our buddy Joe, and eventually Matthew and Grant, the other two members of the show, but mainly from Skid, Joe, and I, just having that age-old problem where we just wanted more excuses to play Pathfinder in our case. Skid never really stopped, and he'll talk more about that. I got back into it like 7 years ago after a 20+ year absence from playing as a teenager, and Joe had got in just before me, and he brought me into a game, and that's where I met Skid. And then when that happens, you get that like RPG addiction again. You feel like you're 13 and like there's nothing you want to do but roll dice and create characters. And that's what happened to us. And it got to a point where I was like, all right, we need to play more games, as many games as possible. And they were like, why don't you run a game? And I'm like, I have no idea how to GM. I don't think I want to do that. And they were like, well, if you want to play more games, that's the only way. And I was like, all right. And so I started running them through the Paizo Jade Region adventure path. And it wasn't long before I got the GM bug. And like anything else, I was just like, I need more. Now that I've learned how to GM, I want to start fresh and do it again. But it came down to the same thing. It was like convincing them to take that time out of their lives to want to do another game. So that's when I started getting into podcasting and listening to other podcasts and hearing about other RPG podcasts. And I was like, we can do this. This is how I'm going to trick Joe and Skid into playing another game with me. So I said, hey, guys, got a crazy idea. Let's play another adventure path. I know you don't have a lot of time. That's fine. But here's the catch. We're going to record it, and 5 people will listen to it. It'll be great. And then they bought it hook, line, and sinker, and now we've got fans all over the world. That's pretty much the story.
I sympathize very much with the DMing bug. I was bit by the exact same thing back when Roll20 became a thing, because by the time I was in my 20s, all of my college friends had like moved away, and we'd all separated and we all gone our separate ways. And then before that, we were all looking for a way to like play role-playing games online, and there was no good way to do it. It was all kind of wonky. And then when Roll20 happened, it like before I knew it, I was like DMing or playing in a game every single night of the week, and I'm like, this is bad for my health.
It's a very natural thing though, because like, did you take a break, or have you never stopped playing?
I honestly, I have been DMing pretty much DMing straight through since I started playing right when Roll20, because I was one of the backers of Roll20 when it was on Kickstarter. Oh, okay. So like ever since then, I don't think I've stopped. It's 4 or 5 years now, something like that. Wow. Okay. The streaming, it's just, the streaming thing is just, I don't even know where that came from.
Did you start playing when you were a kid? Brian, did you start playing when you were a kid?
Yeah, I was actually I was sort of introduced when I was my first, and I've told this story a few times on my. It's not really interesting. My first experience with role-playing games was when I was 13 years old. I was working as a counselor at a summer camp, and one of my friends was like, "Hey, you want to do this thing?" And he had a copy of D20 Modern, which is a horrible, horrible game, but we played, like on our breaks and stuff, we played exactly the type of D20 Modern campaign that you would imagine a bunch of 13-year-olds who don't know what they're doing would play.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a lot of people's first experiences are at summer camp for many different things.
Oh, man. What about you guys? Like, where was your kind of introduction? And while you do that, I'm gonna try and fix alerts, because for some reason my alerts are not going off.
Well, I started playing in 3rd grade. My uncle Sinclair, who lives out in Oregon now, for my whatever birthday I can't remember what age I was. I don't know what age kids are in different grades. Anyway, I was in 3rd grade, whatever that was. 9 years old, something.
17.
17. Well, for me, yes, I was 17 in 3rd grade.
You were held back.
Yeah, I had held back several times. Sent back. But he bought me the D&D Red Box. I think it was like 1981, and I just fell totally in love with it. Just the picture on the box, I was just like, "What is this?" And I had no idea. And I cracked it open, and it was so different and cool. And it just happened that a bunch of my friends got into it at the exact same time. And our very understanding teachers let us play in the halls, like at recess and at lunch. All the uncoordinated, geeky kids who fell over anytime they tried to move faster than a trot. And it's like, hey, Yeah, I'd like to stay inside where it's cool rather than getting dodgeballs thrown in my face for 15 minutes. So we started doing that, and just basically played all the way through high school, mostly with the same group of kids. And then I took a little break in college, but then when I'm in like 1998, I was doing a show in Denver, and I started to get really close to the cast, and it turns out a couple of the guys there used to play, and we're like, hey, let's play again. And yeah. So we got another campaign that was great, and then I moved out here, and my first roommate out here, turns out he was a game designer, and so he got me into a campaign, and he'd come up with new game systems like every couple of months, like whole new game systems, new game worlds, and we'd just play through those, and it was fun, but I just never had the chemistry with those guys that I finally was able to find with Troy and Joe and the rest of the guys. That's when it really got fun again for me, when I found those guys.
Yeah, finding the right group to kind of like. I think everyone kind of goes through that thing, especially if you've been playing role-playing games for a long time, is you probably go through a bunch of different groups. It's like, because everyone wants to play, but right when you find that group that just kind of clicks, it's a different experience, right? I've got a group that I play with on Fridays that we've been playing on Roll20 for like 3 years now, and I almost don't remember what D&D was like before I played with them. Like it's just so different, but I love it. Long, when you have a group that's just for there for a long campaign. By the way, I have been working behind the scenes. I did get my alerts fixed, so real quick, I want to thank the Scrap Savant and Little Red Riding Crop and Falstaff and Mazelstead and Aramel 200 and Banana Cleric and I Ain't Your Mama and Unclear Gamer and Our Knight Kerfuffle and Shrubwalker and CRO19 and SB Brown Jr. and Yanni Yahum for following. Welcome to the madness, my friend. Thank you for joining us, and also thank you to Unmade Gaming for that subscribe. You guys, if you have not already, raise your glasses in chat with an ED cheer and give Unmade Gaming a proper salute. I don't have a beer in front of me, so I can't properly. The beer's all the way across the room, and I'm already sitting here. So, you guys, you actually, you said you started with Jade Region and you're now doing the Giant Walker Adventure Path. That's actually really interesting because I do a lot of 5th edition on stream now, but I started my dungeon mastering career and I actually maintain it with Paizo Adventure Paths because I think they're some of the most fun things for me personally to run. Like, I'm a really big Adventure Path DM.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find, like, do you enjoy that like do you find the Adventure Pass to be like your sort of comfort zone? Do you sort of pick and choose stuff for them, or like how do you approach them?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. We talk about this a lot in our sister show, Cannon Fodder, about how we love adventure paths, and we understand people's reticence to get involved with them because they feel like, well, it's just too railroady. Even at their most sandboxy, you're still railroading the PCs on a pre-written storyline. So what we've tried to do from the beginning, and I've just learned this as I've gone along, is really customize the pre-written adventure path. Like I go in assuming that these writers of these adventure paths are better gaming designers / writers than I will ever be, because that's not my forte. However, I could take that amazing skeleton that they've created and customize it to the particular PC's backstories that I have, particular players that I have, and whatever hits me in the moment. So I think there are people who have even played Giant Slayer that are listening to our show and discovering new things, because I've changed stuff, but also because the choices the characters make take the adventure in brand new directions. It may eventually always get back on track, but I mean, we have one of our big bads in the show is completely fabricated out of one of Skid's backstories that I took and is turned into one of the major villains in the story that we're telling, and that's not at all in the adventure path. So I think doing things like that is how you can take something where someone's done all the work for you already, and then you add your own personality, bring in the personalities and all the work that the players and the PCs are bringing to the table, and take it in a new direction. I mean, I know people that are replaying adventure paths, which blows my mind when I first hear that. But then I'm like, well, of course you would never play the adventure path and have it happen the same way.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that I've done a lot of on this show is sort of justify myself when I say like I'm a module DM, and I definitely approached it from the same exactly what you said, is like, as a DM I never really considered myself a writer. I'm kind of a crappy writer. I've tried homebrewing from scratch before and it has always turned out horrible. So yeah. I will leave the writing to the people who get paid to do that. What I can do, what I find myself much better at, is I'm a better editor, which means when I read through the adventure path, it's like, okay, this is the story, but I don't understand this. Like, I don't understand what's going on here, or this isn't done very well, or this isn't really, like, this part is not, like, this character doesn't get enough screen time, you know, there's not enough backstory connection, that kind of thing. And when you kind of, if you approach your adventures or modules like that, they become so, like, an interesting tool rather than, like, okay, I'm going to open the book and I'm going to run exactly what it says, right?
Right.
I think there might be a step in there, like, of giving yourself permission to play around with it.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, I mean, you might as well be playing a computer game.
Speaking of Jade Region, do you have it, like, are you a fan of that one? Because I think that's probably one of my favorites.
Love Jade Region.
We love it, yeah. I mean, now that we've got all these other projects going on, now that the glass cannon is blown up, we haven't been able to play it as much as we'd like. So we're like stuck at the beginning, middle of book 5, and I just want to finish this adventure path.
My character just died. He just killed my character at the last moment of our last session. I'm like, God damn it! And we haven't played in like 3 months, like 2.5 months or something.
It's been a while.
And I'm like, come on. And not to mention that this character is my favorite character that I've ever had in my entire life. And
I'm probably the best character I've ever played with.
And the group of characters is my favorite group of characters that I've ever played with. Like, before we started, we all said, we're going to take this really seriously. We're going to do all of our prep work. We're going to make this as great as it can possibly be. So being as, like, the plot involves, like, going from Europe, across the, spoiler alert, across the North Pole into Japan, basically. Yeah. We all read James Clavell's Shogun, like, in preparation for that, which is one of my favorite books. And it's about, like, European, a fish out of water landing in Japan. So we all had that in mind as we started. And we all, like, really worked out really hard crafting our backstories and making real rooted, believable characters. And the way that they ended up bouncing off each other, they ended up forming these organic, really strong, moving relationships with each other. Mm-hmm. Just so often it feels forced. It's just like we got to, like, find a way to, like, make ourselves work together. But the way that these characters had these friendships develop, like, just as they evolved, I've never experienced anything like that, to the point where the characters would each die for each other. Yeah. And it's just, and it's not a contrivance. It's not any kind of contrivance. It's just what happened. And so as a result, like, this story is so much more important to all of us. And yeah, I really want to get back into it, but who knows if we ever.
We've talked about renting a hotel room and, like, for 2 days and just
holding
ourselves up and just marathon. Because I'm like, I could do book 5 in a good 10-hour session. I feel confident about that, and I feel like if I get to 6, we'll finish it. But I mean, this is why you were talking earlier about chemistry. Chemistry, I think, is the most important part of maintaining a group. Once you know that you're in a group where it's like, oh yeah, this feels right. I'm like, I feel like I'm in the warm side of the pool, but not the gross reasons. This is nice. This is unnaturally warm over here. You just want to stay in that for as long as possible. This metaphor went off the rails too quickly. But the point is, Yes, you're in the pissy side of the pool. Is like we want to finish this so badly, and thankfully we have the chemistry where I feel confident that it was going to happen. But if you have one bad egg in there, that's why gaming groups always die out. It's because like I don't want to hang out with that guy. I don't want to hang out with that girl. The GM is the worst. I don't want to be there. Chemistry is so important. And so as we do more podcasts, people are like, hey, maybe you could have more than just the 5 of you guys. We're like, yeah, we'd love to. We'd love to mix it up. You can't just like put out an open casting call and bring in some rando. We need to have a relationship with that person or build a relationship with them in order for it to work. I think that's one of the reasons we've been able to be successful is like there's so many strong friendships that have just become stronger as we've gone on.
Yeah, and that's I think this is kind of like it's hard to find the exact words to phrase this without sort of sounding condescending or putting people down, but I don't know, are you guys big fans of Critical Role?
Yeah,
I haven't watched enough of it, but
okay.
I appreciate it. Like anything that's doing really well in this genre. I mean, you got to imagine it's them and Harmon Quest are at the top of the mountain, and they're probably at the top because they've been around longer. When I see something like that, I know, okay, there's something to learn here. Whether it's my cup of tea or not, like I need to see what they're doing and then find a different way to do what they're doing if we want to ever compete with it.
And I was specifically going to point out that it's like you have a group of people here that is clear, like just from their interactions, you can clearly tell. I was like, okay, it doesn't matter what these guys are playing. They've known each other so long, like there's so much chemistry there that it's going to be, they're going to make it entertaining because no one's really worried about like, okay, is this guy going to pull his weight? Is he going to be, putting in as much effort as I am? That kind of thing. And that's a tough thing to find, like especially when you're putting together a new group of people. Like a lot of people, they're like, okay, I'm gonna go on Roll20. I'm gonna start DMing, and they, oh, does anyone want to play? And then they kind of expect that sort of chemistry, or that they expect it to just sort of click like that, and it sometimes doesn't. I sometimes say that like not. It's unfortunate to admit, but it is true that not every D&D group is perfect for every player, right?
Yeah,
sure.
That's what's such a big part of it is finding people, other players who want the same things you want out of a game. That's the main thing. The reason why our group has worked as well as it has is because we all want the same thing.
Exactly.
We want the same style of game, so.
Also like people can be very sensitive in this game. Like their emotions can run high in these games, and if you don't have the right group of people where you can either bust balls or be like be able to mitigate fights real well, I mean it can get ugly. We've had sessions even amongst our close friends where things get like really heated, and we can be like, all right, guys, let's just relax for a second. Like to try to do that with strangers where you make a joke that like 3 people in the room are like, yo, that joke's not cool. Like that would never work for us because we're throwing stuff against the wall all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's always a an interesting mechanic, but if you find those people, and that's why I've said this actually a few times in a few different scenarios, the whole thing about Roll20 and being in this sort of digital age of gaming, if you don't have sort of that, like, because back in the day, when you were playing, you only had your friends to play with, or like the people down at the game store or in school. It's like you didn't really get to choose who you got to play with, right? You didn't get to choose the people who wanted the same things out of the game as you did. It's like you got
who's in my immediate area.
Yeah, it's like you got your friend Jeff and Steve, and you didn't really like whatever. It's if they were gonna be the power gamer and you were gonna be the guy who just wants to have really flowery dialogue and stuff. You don't get a choice in that, but nowadays you can find the people who want exactly the same thing out of a game as you do. It takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of work, but you can, and it's such a different dynamic. Actually, you guys were talking about it. The Jade Region was really interesting. I loved it. I loved the flavor of it so much. I actually rewrote an entire intro chapter for it. I basically mashed up Rise of the Rune Lords, the first book, as an intro to Jade Region, and it was a ton of fun. Right now, my home group, we're playing Curse of the Crimson Throne, which is my favorite thing that Paizo has ever written.
Oh, Skid and I are in one of those games that our other buddy Joe from the podcast is running. But Joe just gets really excited about things and then stops running the game. And then Skid and I get really sad because the campaign is amazing. And we've played through, I think we're both third level at this point, and then we haven't
is-
played in like 5 months.
It is really, really good. My players are level 9, and they are really hard to challenge. They are way overpowered, and not because of anything I did. It's just because they know Pathfinder in and out, so they do some shit. But it's a ton of fun.
Just got to kill one of them, put them in the play.
Yeah.
Make everybody know that you're for real.
I'm
It's
actually
like first day of prison.
I actually made
Kill
them.
one guy, like, let him know.
I haven't killed any of them yet, but this last session I made them kill one of their old friends. So
Even better.
yeah.
That's good.
For those of you guys, by the way, we got a ton of people hanging out. For those of you guys who are just joining us, by the way, welcome to Fuzzy Dice. This is the Dungeon Master Show. If you guys don't know, we're gonna be taking questions and stuff from the chat. We're gonna be taking like questions and topics in a little bit. So if you guys have anything you want to talk about, DM stuff, weird personal questions, that's whatever. Just hold on to them, and then when we get to the break, we will tell you guys how you can submit those, and we will do our best to get to all of them. But so I guess talked a little bit about podcasting. Like, how was the? I mean, you guys started podcasting, and it seems like it's kind of just blown up from there.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when we first made it, we were like, let's just see how this goes.
Yeah.
But we had a plan to like really do our best. We researched all the sound equipment to make sure the sound was tight. We obviously wanted the game to be as good as it could be in a new medium, because playing for an audience is so much different from playing at home. So we really tried to think about that before we started playing. Like, how do you play for an audience? How do you play for an audience? Mm-hmm. And then just research as much as possible, like how to launch a successful podcast.
We tried to break iTunes.
Is there a document on that?
Oh, there's tons of documents. You Google anything, you'll find it. And like one of the easy things, one of the little tricks that I read early on was like, never launch one episode when you launch. Mm-hmm. Launch 3. Launch 3 episodes, and then tell all your friends, whether you listen to my stupid podcast or not, please just download it on your phone and leave an iTunes review. I don't care if you ever listen to it, but please, we're launching 3 episodes today. Download. So all 5 of us just blasted, like, everyone download this, leave an iTunes review. Download. You can delete it in a week, doesn't matter. And that was enough to launch us to number 2 or 3 on the on like the top gaming podcast. Yeah, new and noteworthy. And the top gaming podcast within like 10 hours of our launch. So that was enough to kind of keep us in new and noteworthy on iTunes for long enough for other people who otherwise don't know who we are, never heard of us. It's not like we had a brand before this to be like, oh, what's the Glass Cannon podcast? They have a cool image. I'll click on that. And and then word of mouth travels. And luckily, where we're dealing with a gaming podcast, so much of gaming is about community. If you're listening to this, you must have some small interest in RPG gaming. Yeah. So you listen to the podcast, and then on Saturday afternoon, you go hang out with 6 of your friends. If you're enjoying the podcast, you can be like, hey, 6 gaming friends, you might want to listen to this. And then they listen to it. It's just like, it spreads exponentially from there.
Just a slight correction. My audience, 90% people that don't actually like role-playing games. They're just here out of spite mostly.
They're hate watching, or they hate watching your Twitch stream.
Well, we were surprised from day one how many people listened that actually have never played before, but have started playing because of our show. And I mean, I think that's what made us attractive to Paizo to begin with, is that like, oh wow, you're like ambassadors for our product, and we do our best to try and teach people the game, while even we ourselves make mistakes constantly. But I was always
really good at showing people what not to do.
Right, that's probably our strong point. This is how not to do it. But, I'm just always amazed that people can listen to this and like, I've never played an RPG before, and I just love your show, because there's a lot of nerdy minutia in there. When we get into math and rolling, we do our best to keep it moving. But if you've never listened to this before, I guess we're doing something right if people can not only be into this, but then say, okay, I need to find a gaming group so I can start playing as well.
So there's that actually brings up an interesting point because before I was streaming, I guess this was while I was DMing, but not really like before I really was aware that there was a D&D podcast world, and you know, kind of this was before it blew up on Twitch too. There was a blog that I just sort of found an actual play recording they did. It was of Tomb of Horrors because I wanted to run the Tomb of Horrors, and so I wanted to listen to some people run it. And it's surprising how like you don't expect. I mean, when we're playing D&D, it's like, why would anyone want to listen to this, right? But you'd be surprised at how easy it is to listen to those things, especially if the group is entertaining and, you know, personable and funny, and you know, it just kind of keeps moving. It's not a lot of dead space and stuff like that.
Well, I was immediately, because I heard about Nerd Poker at some point early on. I think really early on. And I was like, oh, like I like Brian Posehn and everything. Unlike Grant, who wants to fight him. But I was like, oh yeah, I'll check D&D. Yeah, I'll check this out. And it was just like, oh, this is really fun. Like, I mean, and I'm a guy who I love watching Twitch streams. I love watching Let's Play videos. I'm always, you know, cool just watching people play. But I was like, this is great. And I was like, and I think that we, like our group, like I have so much fun playing with these guys. I think that fun could translate to, you know, people who aren't here.
Yeah. And I think people, the community aspect is huge too. Like people, when they find something that they enjoy, right? Like content wise and just the personalities of, like, people love becoming a part of that community and sharing it and, you know, being active and stuff. And it's such a sort of a feedback loop, right? You know, when you get people that are telling you how much they enjoy what you're doing, it's like, okay, I just want to try harder and provide these people with better stuff.
For sure, it's definitely inspired us. Like we can never go into a game session and be like, all right, guys, let's just get through this episode and phone it in. And now there's like so much pressure to make sure that everything is a home run. And like we're I don't know, I don't think we're hit or miss, but like sometimes like, it's a pretty good episode. And then it's like, that was a great episode. But we're always like, we go into it, and we've done this since the beginning. Like, let's just do the best we can and keep the energy up, because we're entertaining, you know, tens of thousands of people now, which is amazing to us when we thought that like maybe our friends would listen to this.
You should see him. You should see Troy freaking out before every episode that we record. That's what's entertaining to me. Yeah, is watching him get super nervous. Like, oh, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to start this episode. I don't know. He just freaks out, and I'm laughing.
Do you just sort of like shuffle through your notes, like really nervous, and then once it records, you just like, oh, fuck it, I'll wing it, and then it surprisingly goes better than you expect.
Doing it live.
I always feel like I'm over prepared, but it's just like, it's starting and making sure I can remember all the things that I want to do, but also be ready for, like, I've got Skid in the room, who's the best improviser I've ever met. Like, I never know what Skid is going to throw at me. I can't prepare for that. So it's like, all right, let's just start recording, Joe. We'll figure out when we do it. And that's pretty much every time we record. You'd think 112 episodes in, we'd be like, all right, guys, everybody ready? All right. Joe, go ahead and record. No, it's always like, shut up. Don't look at me, Skid. Don't look at my eyes.
It makes me laugh. I'm like, I'm ready to go because I'm just watching him cracking up.
But Skid gets it because he did a live show for us, and he was the GM. And you, I think maybe in that moment you were like, oh, now I see why Troy's a psychopath.
Then I understood. I was like, I was really freaking out, because especially with being a live audience.
Yeah.
I'm like, we can't stop. And like, oh, okay, I'm not happy with that. Let's start over again. I was freaking out because we had like 50 people in there, and I was beside myself. I couldn't sleep the night before. I took some Valium or something like the night before, just to get like 2 hours of sleep.
Something. I don't know what it was.
I don't know what it was. It was a pill.
Cat tranquilizer.
Yeah. It was a bottle.
I know it was expired. That's the only thing that I know. But it's just to get like 2 hours of sleep. I was like, I have to get some sleep tonight. And then I woke up and I went down there. And then, but when we got down to the venue, there were people like hours beforehand sitting down, lined up, like it was a Yes concert or something. And Grant and I showed up. It was like, I don't know what to do. Like we both froze. We're like, do we talk to them? Or do we just walk past, not say anything? I don't know. But it was great. Like once we actually started playing, and I was super nervous, you know. And if you listen to it, you can tell how nervous I was to start off with. But like once you started playing and like have to like play, because I've never played for an audience before, like a live audience, and to have people be into it and to know all of our in jokes and to be singing along with all our songs and all that stuff. It was such a rush that by the time, I kind of got over those initial jitters, it was the best day of my life. I couldn't believe it.
I listened to that whole story, and I'm not sure if we're talking about D&D or like a rock band.
That's what it felt like.
I'm not sure what we're talking about.
It felt. It's like I know how Steven Tyler feels now.
Okay.
Like, right around when Walk This Way came out, like, I can relate. I know how he felt. No.
Yep.
Next, people are going to be stopping you on the street. It's just, it's a bad place.
Oh, we're getting
to
flashed through like having to sign parts of people's bodies.
They always call us the Aerosmith of Pathfinder.
That's
that's what we're known by now.
That's not. It's not for no reason that they call us that.
I thought it was the drugs, but
Well, I guess that's a contributing factor too. But it was crazy. I mean, we felt like rock stars for a day.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, everybody was so cool and everyone enjoyed it so much and the energy was so crazy. Just getting to spend the whole day with all those people was such a blast. It was such a rush.
Yeah, and it was that. It's not like we didn't know that we were onto something or that we were affecting people in a way that was more than just entertainment. But it was after our live show where we all were like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually more than just a bunch of dudes making jokes and trying to tell a fun story. Like, I think we could like do more than just this, and that's what's opened up this realization that we've built this community that is like rabid followers, but also like insanely interested in joining together to form gaming groups. Because if you like the GCP, there's odds are you're probably going to enjoy gaming together. So we've got gaming groups sprouting up all over. I mean, I can't even say all over the country, all over the world at this point, which sounds ridiculous to even say. But I know we're represented in like 116 countries at this point. And so then when I see something like that, I'm like, okay, so there's real power in this. Mm-hmm. And yet there's a huge majority of people in the world that have no idea what D&D is, no idea what Pathfinder is, no idea what role-playing games are, and they are missing out. So we're on this like personal mission to just kind of have everybody be like, hey, just try it out, see if you like it. And then if you're like anybody else, you're going to play it a couple times, maybe you'll be like, this isn't for me. But I can't imagine anybody not being like that. I want to play that again as soon as possible.
I've never seen someone like roll a dice, like take a D20 and roll it and be like, nope, fuck this, I'm done, I'm out. I don't get it. I don't want it. Take it away.
That's so uninteresting.
This doesn't make any sense.
I'd love to.
I want to roll a D20 right now. Just keep talking about it.
I'd love to meet the person who's like,
natural 20.
Oh,
get out of here.
We have no proof, but.
Oh, shit.
Awesome.
But no, that's like, it's like you said, first of all, I think we're kind of witnessing D&D and role-playing in general kind of coming into a much more mainstream focus than it ever has before. And it's people are surprised by that, but I think the thing I always say, and I certainly didn't create this saying, but it's the thing that I totally agree with, is like, people are finally being like, oh wow, I guess D&D kind of is cool. And it's like, well, we've been saying that for years, we weren't lying. Like, what do you just gotta,
you guys were so pasty, we weren't listening to anything that you said.
It's like, no,
for so long.
It
was the refuge. It was the refuge of the nerd, of the social outcast. It was like an outlet for social outcasts for whatever reason. But so it had this really unfair kind of stigma against it, and not even counting like the panic of the '80s that I started playing through.
Yeah,
the Satanism and suicides and all that stuff. It's the perfect activity, especially for kids. Like it has everything you would want a kid to experience except exercise. You can LARP, I guess.
I feel like Game of Thrones made it okay for everyone to like something that
nerd.
was inherently nerdy, yeah. And so that opened the door to, the resurgence of the hobby. I don't want to peg it all on that, but now you
No,
look at
it's-
how many people are into Game of Thrones, like it's obviously it's opening up people's minds to this nerdy stuff.
I think that's definitely a contributing factor, but I mean, it's also the Marvel superhero movie is exploding, like that definitely
Sure.
helped.
Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings films.
Like Roll20 being easily accessible help. D&D 5th edition as a whole, just like I think that was the perfect edition to sort of spread to everyone, right? Because it's simple on its surface, but it's still D&D, and then you have all the sort of celebrity backing that's kind of given it legitimacy. Like it's just a combination of factors that all happen that are sort of making this kind of hobby become acceptable. And
Yes.
I keep saying that with all the money and stuff that's going into like streaming and production now, I'm waiting for the day we see like StarCraft 2 or like StarCraft money or like League of Legends esports level money going into D&D, because I want to see I want to see stadium D&D. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too.
Yeah,
pretty
I
great.
guess that has to happen at some point, and the only way you can to do that is probably you have to make it super competitive, and whether that's like the GM versus the players or like competitive teams going through the same adventure path, I don't know, but like there has to be that competitive quality to it that doesn't.
You have to have gambling.
Yes,
Gambling
right. You have to be able,
D&D.
You have to be
Yeah,
able to
let's do
involve
it.
gambling somehow.
if you can bet on it, then it'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, there has to be a point. I mean, the fact that ESPN will show League of Legends tournaments still blows my mind.
Yeah.
So how far are we away from someone sitting like, all right, next up on ABC, Rise of the Rune Lords, Book 4.
Yeah, I mean,
when
are we gonna see TV commercials for dice, right? Like, when is that gonna
Oh, wow.
happen, right? Like, when is Game Science gonna fucking buy a TV spot? I don't know, but that is a future that I dream of.
Oh, it'd be great during the Super Bowl.
The Super who would,
A 90-second Super Bowl ad for dice.
just like real close-ups of the shiny dice,
Like a woman in a bikini, like
just
spraying one with a hose or something.
someone diving into a pool of D4s.
Vin Diesel doing the voiceover.
I love it. So speaking of going mainstream and becoming successful, like, are you guys looking towards doing other stuff with D&D? Like, are you just blowing up the podcast? Are you guys planning on taking to Twitch one day? Maybe doing some live show stuff.
we hope to sell out as soon as possible.
There are companies
First
lining up.
opportunity. First opportunity we get to sell out, we are fucking doing it.
Right.
Immediately.
I mean,
I think
we're just waiting for the phone call to
I
come.
think Amazon is looking to buy a D&D brand.
Sold.
So
I'm not even going to read the contract. I'm not reading the contract. I'm just signing it. Give me a pen right now. I'll pre-sign my signature. I'll fax it
that
in.
shit. Rubber stamp.
Yeah.
I mentioned this before on something else. It's like this really is the Wild West right now in terms of this hobby becoming something that can be entertainment. Gaming entertainment is still a very new concept. I mentioned before, you got Critical Role, you got Harmon Quest. What else? Okay, Adventure Zone is very, very popular in the podcast world. And there's a couple other podcasts. And then like maybe we're in the single A ball right now or triple A. I don't know. We're making our way to the major leagues, but there's
I think we're
everything else.
We're kind of at the I think we're kind of at the top of the second tier.
We're
In that level of we're the triple A, I think.
We're
It's
triple
like us, God's Fall, like there's the superstars, the major leagues. There's Harmon Quest, there's Critical Role, there's the Adventure Zone. Like those guys get TV deals, cable or whatever.
Yeah,
and then we're at a level below that.
Yeah, well, once in a while we get the call up for like a day game.
Yeah.
And then we get sent back down to the minors.
We get a cup of coffee. We get a cup of coffee in the majors.
Right.
Get sent back down.
But I mean, obviously that's where we want to go. And so now it becomes like, and this is, I say now, we've been thinking about this for a long time, is like, how do we do this correctly? How do we take what little time we have, which has now become, I mean, at this point, a lot of our time is being spent on this at the expense of everything else in our life, because we know that we're to something. So how do we use the time that we have available to take this to the next level, where the next level is completely unknown and uncharted territory for pretty much everybody except 3 groups of people? So the best that we can do is just continue to grow the brand, continue to put out the best content that we can do, hopefully expand to more content, and then get out of the podcast realm to also include video content, and to make something that we can, walk into a pitch meeting at a, now you don't have to go to ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS anymore. You can go to Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and pitch to them. You can go to CISO. You can go to Esquire TV. There's so many more options than there were 10 years ago. So if we come up with a pitch for a TV show or something, now there's people that might listen. If we say, yeah, we have 45,000 people listening to us on a daily basis, is that something you'd be interested in? Then maybe we can take this to the next level. But right now we're just trying to do the best we can on a weekly basis with the audience that we have.
Yeah, we have to keep working hard, solidify our audience, and get better looking. We
Yes.
have to become more physically attractive in order to move
plastic
up.
surgery. Because I was gonna
Yeah.
say what the next. I think like you guys are onto something good, but the next field that you need that I think will push you over to the edge is nudity. That
Right.
has
Oh,
not
man.
been capitalized on in the D&D field yet.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about it a lot, mostly in other contexts. But
It has a no nudity clause in his contract.
yeah, but it's negotiable. I mean, we'll do it.
Is it wait? Is it like negotiable as like tasteful coverings or like stuff
No.
in front of the camera? Like
I have a very strict stipulation that it not be tasteful. That's my main thing.
Yeah.
So we just have to figure out a way to be as degrading and disgusting as possible, and then
tasteless
we'll,
nudity.
Yeah.
I think that is an
We're working on it.
that is an uncharted territory that you guys can blaze.
Yeah. No one else is doing it.
Why
So-
would they?
Why would they? Indeed. So, yeah. I guess
That's how we're
the
going to get
point.
that Showtime money.
That's right. See, the premium prime cable. That's what I'm talking about. That's the
Showtime!
deal.
Showtime.
That's why people watch Game of Thrones. Nudity.
Yep.
Yes.
I fast forward just to get to the nudity.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and blood and gore. You need nudity and gore, preferably at the same time. Spartacus showed that you can do them both at the same time.
The blood and the gore will evolve naturally from us being all nude around each other.
Exactly.
Just
Kid gets that.
just kind of happens.
It'll just happen.
Just eventually.
We don't have to plan for it. It'll just happen.
Oh Lord. So, on that note, we're gonna kind of go over to viewer questions. Unless you guys have anything you wanna hit up, you wanna talk about real quick, last minute before we go into the viewer questions, stuff like that.
Brian, I did want to say that I watched your last week's show with the Dwarven Forge guy.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
That was great. Yeah, he's a really interesting dude, and I had just watched the documentary on Netflix too, so that was really neat.
I wasn't expecting the rapping. That came out of left field.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, what's happening?
For those of you
That was
who
odd.
don't know, my immediate past episode before this one, I was hanging out with Stephen Picorni and Nate from Dwarven Forge during their Kickstarter, and it's a good time. We were all drinking, and then Stephen just starts rapping, and none
Out of
of
nowhere.
us were
prompting.
prepared.
No context.
He had it.
It
He had it
happens.
written too. It was.
Did he have it written? I thought
He
he
ha-
was just like.
No, he had that
spouting
written
it.
down. He was reading off his phone, which makes
I
it
thought he
even
was-
weirder.
I thought he was freestyling. Okay.
He's working out his rhymes.
Yep. Okay. It was great.
It was a lot of fun, man.
Oh. Sorry, and one other thing. I just recorded a sketch for my friend is doing a show at the Alamo Draft House in Brooklyn on Thursday night. It's about kaiju. It's a kaiju themed show for Kevin Maher's podcast, and that's going to be Thursday night at 7:00 at the Alamo, Brooklyn. If anyone wants to come down for that.
All right. So we are gonna. I think it's about 9:00. So we're about halfway through the show, meaning we're gonna switch over to the question and answer part of this segment. So I hope you guys have, you guys should have been sent the questionnaire. So I hope you have your answers ready.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Skid, can you send me that questionnaire?
Did you do the homework?
Skid, just forward it to me right now.
I do nothing but homework.
I don't think you can hear this. I have it on mute.
So guys, if you were in chat, first of all, thank you so much for hanging out with us. You guys have been kicking ass in chat. Sorry I haven't been there to chat with you, but first of all, if you're just tuning in, welcome to Fuzzy Dice, the Dungeon Master Show here on the Exploding Dice channel. My name is Askren, and I am hanging out here, right over here. You can see he's right there with Troy and Skid from the Glass Cannon podcast, and we're having a grand old time. We are going to be taking your questions and topics from the chat for us to discuss. If you guys want to get a question in, all you got to do is tag @ExplodingDice in chat, so it lights up in red so I can see it, and then, follow with your question, and we will try and get through all of them. I sincerely hope we can get through all of them. If not, then, I don't know, send it to me on Twitter or something, and I will bother, or just send it to these people on Twitter. I guess you could, in theory, you don't need me as a middleman. In that case, really, my job is entirely superfluous.
I'd prefer if you handled it from here on out.
Oh, okay.
Just send me an email with the question.
Just all questions go through me.
Actually, just go ahead and answer them all, too.
Yes. I will. You will probably not like the answers. So we're going to be doing those. Just drop them in chat. Holy shit, there it goes. It's blowing up. So we're going to take these one by one, and we will see what you guys want to know. All right. Chill. Stop moving. First of all, oh god, it's not working. The Pickles Lover says, Troy, do you prefer your pee at body temperature or slightly cooled?
Excellent question. I'm glad that we opened with that. I mean, it really depends on the pool. I knew I was going to regret making that metaphor. But sometimes you're in the warm part of the pool. It's not necessarily pee. Body temperature.
You're in rare form, Troy.
I'm on fire right now. Thank you, Pickles Lover.
You're in luck.
Janix Quinn says, in all caps, what type of blogs are you looking for?
What?
Just send us nude photos.
Yeah, like the more nudity, the better.
The more nudity, the better.
That's I think.
We're starting a new we're launching a new website very soon, and we're hiring blog writers. And we want unique voices that understands our brand. There might be amazing writers out there that aren't in our style. So we want like unique voices that will work for bottle caps.
That's like are those Canadian or like do they transfer?
No, these are American bottle caps.
Yep, that's our currency.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't know what the current exchange rate is, but
I don't know. My bank
no
doesn't take
Molson,
those.
there's no Labatt's. It's all
no Labatt's. These are all custom American bottle caps.
Well, I mean, if my loan companies will take bottle caps, then I don't know, man. Maybe you can pay some of my bills.
Yeah, man. That's right.
We'll hook you up.
It's a brave new world.
Fuck Sally Mae.
I'll just send them an envelope full of bottle caps. See what they do. Uncle Unclear Gamer. I thought that said uncle for a second. It actually does say uncle. I'm gonna call you Uncle R Gamer.
Uncle R Gamer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uncle
yeah.
R Gamer says, "Why is Pathfinder better than D&D?"
Oh boy.
Good question.
We got an hour and a half. I mean, listen, we talk about this a lot. Rather than have this be the entire rest of the show, it's just what we prefer.
Yeah.
We don't like when people are afraid of Pathfinder. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people that get into 5e or are first introduced to role playing through 5e, because 5e is all about making it as accessible as possible, which is a very smart marketing move. And you read Pathfinder, you can be 4 pages in and be like, this is overwhelming. I don't know where to start. And we just want people to know that, like, it doesn't have to be that way. You can start off slow with Pathfinder with a beginner's box, play the rules that you understand, and learn more as you go. We just enjoy it more because we tend to like as much complexity as possible, but other people don't enjoy that.
You guys like the crunch, which my player, some like my home game does too. I will say, I like 5th edition. I like Pathfinder. The reason I stick with Pathfinder, for at 1 or 2 games, is because I am a sucker for character options, like the ability to look and have a list of just hundreds of archetypes and class options and stuff. I just love it. I don't know why. It works for me.
Yeah,
so
me too.
customizable.
And the other thing for me that has always been attractive, well, first, because we started off playing 4E, that's when we kind of got back into it.
So did I.
And it was such garbage. And like we heard about Pathfinder, that was like it was a natural kind of thing to feel more like the game that we grew up playing. Mm-hmm. But then it's the quality of the writing, like because we don't do homebrews, so like the quality of the adventure paths is that's what keeps me into it. Like I'll never move on because there's so many adventure paths that I'll never get to play as long as I live, and I'd hate to miss the chance to get through one.
Paizo actually just sent me a review copy of their adventures guide, and I love the fact that they're constantly putting out like full-size books with art and lore and new stuff to read and learn and use. Like I don't know, man. Like 5th edition's not doing that, so I love the fact that Paizo is.
Yeah, that's funny because like as a company, they started out as publishing magazines.
They were
started
publishing the Dragon magazine.
Dragon.
Yeah.
Right, they took over Dragon, so like they're used to putting out quality material on a schedule, mm-hmm. and that's what they've continued to do, even with core components like that. So it's great. I mean, I think they're the best. We love them.
I think right now they do a full adventure path, 3 modules, and like 4 splat books a year.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Okay, Drunk Spidey said no. We're gonna skip that one because that's more pee and pools. Ask a Pathfinder.
I've answered that ad nauseum.
Asked and answered.
Yes, done. No more pee and pools. Ask a Pathfinder says, "Are you guys keen on Starfinder? What are your thoughts?"
I don't think we've ever been more excited for something than Starfinder. I mean, Skid his face is getting red just thinking about it. I mean, everything that we've read so far, and we've been privy to a little bit more than most people now that we're working with Paizo. It is going to be game changing. I mean, a real game changer. Shadowrun is wonderful. Board game or living card games like Android Netrunner, fantastic. I could play that till the cows come home. This is going to I think it's going to completely change the industry.
I haven't actually had a chance to read or play test any of the Starfinder stuff because my time is just so limited. But I'm really excited for it, mostly because I have never really Iron Gods is the only real time I've dove into sci-fi gaming, and so I kind of want to branch out a little bit and try it out. I think in the first week of August, I'm probably going to be on this show. I'm probably going to be hanging out with some of the Starfinder writers, so definitely going to get a chance to explore some stuff about that.
Definitely watch that. And yeah, I grew up playing a lot of sci-fi games, and it's been so long since I've done any of it. And to have like a sci-fi component to an existing universe that I'm already really familiar with, that we already love, is so exciting. I can't wait. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Todd One Out says.
Todd One Out.
Yeah.
Todd.
He says, what has been your favorite moment of improv from your podcast?
I mean, the one that everyone talks about, I think, is there's an episode called Isn't It Romanticore? Where Skid just did this really fascinating, hilarious diplomacy improvisation as his character talking to me playing a pair of mated manticores. And I don't know, that's the wouldn't you say, Skid, that's the one that people talk about the most?
I hear that a lot. Yeah.
I need to go back and listen to it because people always talk about it. But I mean, it was just that when those moments happen. I mean, and that's what's great about any gaming session is like when you have those amazing improvisational moments or those amazing moments that just because the die happened to go the way it did, you will never forget those moments.
Yeah.
Just like if you scored the winning touchdown in high school, you will never forget those moments. And what's so nice is like 20 years from now, we can go back and listen to episodes of this podcast and remember this stuff that meant so much to us.
Yeah, that's the best thing. Even if no one else was listening to it, we said that from the beginning. We said it'll be so great just for us to have a record of us playing. Like when we're old and gray, to be able to listen back and be there again is going to be so great. And I'm still so happy about that we have that.
Yeah.
You know? And then not only that, but now we have all these other people who are also invested in it, who you can swap these stories with. You can reminisce with like people you never even met. Which is great.
Yeah. The thing about those great improv moments is when you go into a session, you can almost like they tend to be things that you would never even predict. You know, one of my players once he bit a vampire heart. Like it was clearly a thing that you don't ever want to do, but it's just, it sets up a twist that, takes your story in a whole new way. And you're like, oh, I wasn't prepared for this, but I love where this is going.
Yeah, isn't that great? Those moments where you're especially when you're expecting to do one thing and something else happens and it completely changes it in a way that you would have never thought of. And it's the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah. Because I'm huge on character arcs. And characters sort of changing over the course of the campaign, and I always tell my players, like, the campaign, the stuff that's gonna happen, like, that's stuff you can't anticipate. So, like, let's find out what that's, where your character's gonna end up, because it's always, as long as you show up and play your character, it's gonna be cool.
Oh, yeah. And I always tell them, especially where we're playing for an audience, like, make bold choices.
Yeah.
You're better off making bold choices and not worrying about trying to do stuff 5 sessions from now. Make bold choices now, and then later you can continue to make bold choices. And I think whether you're playing for an audience or not, even in your home game, if you're constantly making those bold choices, it's going to make every session feel like a rock star session.
Yeah, because again, those that'll just create those things that you never even planned for. Like, player bites a vampire heart. Why would he ever do that? But now he has a vampire lord that's making him do shit, and it's like, okay, now this story has taken a turn, that no one planned for, and it's the greatest thing. Thank you so much to GameSpawn for subscribing with that Twitch Prime subscription.
Yay.
Thank you guys. My Ankbot is not working, but everyone, please raise an ED cheer in chat. Raise your drinks to Mr. GameSpawn. Thank you, my friend. If you guys really want to support the show and you're enjoying, please consider hitting that subscribe button or just hitting that follow button, man. It's all good. Oh man, a lot of questions here. This is actually an interesting one because this is getting more into the DM stuff. Jen with 2 N's says.
Oh, Jen with 2 N's. I hung out with her at the Boston show.
Oh yeah.
At the live event last weekend. Yeah.
What's up, Jen?
Says, is it best to first-time DM with new players or experienced players?
I love gaming with inexperienced players. People.
Yeah.
I enjoy teaching, so that's really fun for me. And new players, especially kids. I love playing with kids because experienced players will often, kind of tick off boxes and play in pretty predictable ways because they know how to exploit the game. Whereas new players will come up with stuff that you'd never think about. They really think outside the box, and that's super fun for me. So.
Yeah, that's why Matthew has been such a great addition to our show, because Matthew is a pretty green player right from the start.
So stupid. And he doesn't know anything. He doesn't have no clue what he's doing, and it's such a treat. for the rest of us. It's just so great.
The reason I
Because you'll
love
just think of things that we never think of, because we're so used to like playing in a certain way.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
changed
His
our views of it.
childlike idiot brain just is on a different wavelength. It's so entertaining that it's
the reason I love playing with new players, I always say, is because new players who have not played for a while, they haven't played as long as us, they haven't developed bad habits, right? Like
that too.
there's no preconceived anything. It's like they don't, they haven't developed habits of min-maxing or trying to like compete with the DM or like, or trying to metagame or anything. It's just, you can instill into them the habits that you want to see in a great player. For me, those are things like, not acting on meta information and stuff like. I'm huge on the meta stuff, but it's a way you can kind of teach them the best practices and how to be a better player, not just for you, but for the community as a whole, right?
For sure.
It's also so fun to see the joy of discovery, like as you see them realize what the game can be.
Yeah.
Creating the story, it's like that's so fun to watch them as it just dawns on them what's happening. That's such a treat for me. It's right.
No, I was just thinking too, if you're a total new GM and you are nervous about it might be nice too to have at least one experienced player in the group, if you're on the same page with them, to help you with the rule stuff, just so you can try and get your feet wet in the GM chair.
It's always good to have a player in the group who, even as the DM, you can kind of like give them the side eye, about the rules. As I've been DMing more 5th edition and stuff on stream, my Pathfinder knowledge has been suffering. I don't keep as much stuff in my head, and so I will, I have a player in my group who I often find myself asking him hey, spell resistance, how does that work? And he'll just remind me, but it doesn't impede the game or anything. It's just because for the players, they have the same amount of fun dealing with the rules as they would otherwise. So you're right, it is sometimes good to have a ringer there who you're comfortable with, who you can kind of hey man, I don't know what save this monster has to roll or how this spell works, and they can just help you out.
See, what have we learned? 5e makes you soft.
That's right.
Isn't that right? See, 5e makes you soft. See?
Flaccid is the word.
Flaccid. That's a better word.
I meant flaccid.
Definitely makes me soft.
Shots fired.
No, we love the Indian. Well, he doesn't. I do. I love the Indian.
Oh,
We
Lord.
love the game.
All right, there's a lot of questions here, so I'm trying to skip the ones that are not really questions.
I'm sure I know half of them are about urine.
Right.
They have started to become about cats.
Oh God.
Skip those two.
Fucking cats.
All right.
Do you have a cat handy, Troy? Can you show them one of your cats?
They're resting.
Do you have
well, God forbid.
just
please.
open a drawer and
Not
pull one out? Is that how?
Guys, they have a big spa day on Friday. I'm trying to get them calm. Just let them rest.
The Pickles lover says, and we talked a little bit about this. Do you guys have any plans to take your Pathfinder sessions to Twitch or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, we should try something like that. We'd really like to do more live shows. We have a buddy who's a music booker. He works for his boss reps Coldplay, and so we always
sorry
with him about
Yeah, it's fine for him. He doesn't have to listen to them. He just
he doesn't have, can you be our tour agent and we could go on tour? I mean, I'd love to do more of that. It's not that I don't think Pathfinder on Twitch would be exciting if we were to do that, but just to sit and watch someone play for 4 hours, there is no way you can make that exciting for the entire time. I think there's something to be said for the fact that our show is about an hour long and a completely auditory experience, because it allows the listener to really visualize everything. When you add in too many other elements, you get distracted by looking at the map, looking at the players. I mean, it just changes it. I'm not saying it's better or worse.
Yeah.
I just kind of like the medium that we're in. But as we grow, adding converting this somehow to a video medium, if we ever want to do any sort of TV, is going to be incredibly important. And I don't think anyone has figured this out yet. So I don't know if we're going to be the ones to do it, but we're certainly, before we put anything out there, we're gonna try our hand at figuring it out. And maybe Twitch will be a good experimental zone for us to try that in. I don't know.
Counterpoint, I think that's the reason the Critical Role is as successful as it is because that's exactly what they do. So I think if eventually we should try it at least, because it seems, they do a great job with it.
Right. They're very attractive though.
And they're really good looking. They're not,
Yeah. This actually is not a logistical question, but it's more of a DM point. You specifically said like you don't know if you can sort of make like a 3-hour show engaging for the whole time, and this was a thing that I really struggled with when I started on Twitch, but ever since I sort of started treating every session I do as like a TV episode, essentially, in my head, I'm always kind of, as a DM, I'm always kind of running this sort of clock. It says, if you think about what every TV show has, it's like you've got your setup, you've got your hook, you've got your rising action, your climax, your falling action, mystery, cliffhanger, all that stuff. And as long as when I keep that stuff on a clock, it's like, okay, how much time do we have left? That means I need this much. Like, okay, I can't fit a combat out, so so I've got to sort of remove a combat, or they're going too fast. I got to find a roadblock to slow them down for a little bit. How do I get to a cliffhanger from here? And just from a DM perspective, it is my shows as a DM tend to be so structured like that there's always pace going, right? Like I actually have a problem slowing down and stopping and just letting players just kind of shoot the shit for a while, because in my head it's like, okay, no, we're live, so we got to do pace. Is that generally how you approach DMing, or is that like do you run things in a very different way?
No, I mean, looking at the clock, especially for what we're doing here with the podcast, is so important. Like, I've said this before, it's like when I get to the 45-minute mark, I'm at that point trying to figure out what the ending is. I don't know at the beginning of a show 90% of the time where it's going to end, because I never know what the players are going to do, and I want to give them the autonomy to take it in any direction they want. So 45 minutes or so in, I'm looking, how can I cliffhanger this? How can I bring it to the end? I'm lucky in that I don't have to worry too much about concentrating on the setup, the hook, the rising, and the climax, and the falling, because the players are so good in the game. Like, they do all that work for me. I just throw stuff at them, and they improv back with me. That I just want to make sure that every session ends in a way that makes everybody excited for the following week's episode to tune in.
Yeah, I mean, so you DM for like 1 hour and that's it? Like you guys don't cut it down?
No, maybe we'll play for like an hour and a half, hour 20, and produce a show that's anywhere from an hour to an hour 15. Sometimes we go long, but we don't cut out a lot. We cut out stuff like if somebody rolls their die and is doing a lot of math, we'll cut out math, we'll cut out jokes that fall, but we very rarely like, oh, that we went off on a really weird tangent there, let's cut out that whole 5-minute section. We really just cut out dead air to keep the pacing strong. We're very lucky in that we've, from day one, just been able to stay focused. Don't open your mouth unless what you're going to say is pertinent or funny or interesting or moving the plot along. And everybody adheres to that, and it makes the editing a lot easier at the end of the day.
And that is one of the good things about playing for an audience the way we're doing it, is it really keeps everyone focused. Like that people aren't dicking around on their phones. They aren't like having side conversations. It really keeps everyone on the ball. And also on the flip side of the coin, when we get to play for fun, it's like a relief, because it's just like, we don't have to worry about sound. We don't have to worry about, we can just play and have a good time. Yeah. So that's fun too. That's,
oh God. Yeah. We're playing tomorrow night, and one of our buddies in the show, Matthew, is running a game for Skid Joe Grant and I, and it's the game that we're going to run for our fans that have bought tickets to one of our Gen Con events. And we can't wait to just sit here with no microphones, with the air conditioning
on.
be able to relax and just play Pathfinder. I cannot wait for those moments, and they're so rare nowadays because we're like, if we're playing, we should record this and release this bonus content. And then we're like, all right, well, everybody's going to be on. So those moments, though rare they are at this point, I mean, it's made our games better, but it's nice to not have to play for an audience.
My Friday is like the only game I do that's not on stream, and for the longest time, like that was my sanctuary, because like there's no tech stuff, there's no cameras, it's literally just we're on Skype and we're just, you know, no worrying about pacing or anything, you know, it's just relax. Right. And then a couple weeks ago, out of nowhere, one of my players like, so how come you never asked us if we wanted to do this as like a podcast or something? And I'm like,
no.
Brutal.
I can't escape. I can never escape. I told him, I'm like, the reason I haven't done that is because you guys would have to fucking show up on time.
Right.
Ooh.
Professionals.
Yeah. Now what you say?
Because when it becomes business, I become a stickler for time and all that shit. You guys wouldn't do it. This actually is interesting. We have a question that relates back to just what we were talking about. Drunk Spidey says, if you could go back in time and tell yourself one thing as a new DM to bump your game up, what would it be?
Oh, jeepers.
You've been serious.
GMing a lot longer than you.
If I were to go back to like 3rd grade.
Skids forgot more about GMing than I'll ever know.
Well, that's more a memory issue than anything else. But
you need to take your fish oil, man.
Let's see. I still feel 5 years. I learned something every single session. That sounds cliche, but like every single session, I try to take a moment to myself, be like, oh, I wish I had done that one little thing differently. I'm going to remember that for next time. I guess it's just, I always say this, it can never be overstated, the importance of reading and rereading and rereading and rereading. Like sometimes I would be rushed in preparation, not for this show, but for other games. And I would just be like, I'll read it once. I'll be like, all right, I can do this on the fly. I can figure this out. And like, you just can't, because you forget how that session ties into the overall thing. So the importance of reading is something, and rereading is something I learned very early on. But I don't know. That's the beauty of being a GM, is I think it's a constant learning process. I hear about these like world famous GMs, or people that are like everyone wants to watch them GM, and I think how they must still learn too, right? Like they can't know it all.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's that's why I enjoy being a player now. It's a nice change of action, but breaks up my gaming life a little bit. But I really just enjoy GMing because I get to learn so much every time I play.
Yeah, definitely. It's coming from an art background. It's like that always be learning thing is, I think, the biggest it's the best mindset that you can have going into anything, but DMing especially really benefits from it. For sure.
I think if I were to go back and tell myself something, well, first I would say around August 1985. Liquidate your college fund, everything, lay it all on the Bears to win the Super Bowl. And then the second thing I would say as far as GMing was just to roll with the punches a little bit better. Like I early on, especially, I would have a set idea going into a game, and I would just like kind of force the action to make it happen, what else was going on. I would tell myself to, listen more, and kind of let the story kind of go its own direction if that's where it feels like it needs to go. Yeah, and I think that's something I've gotten better at, but especially early on.
Yeah.
I was too rigid. I was too rigid as a kid. So. Anyway.
I feel that too. Like especially in a pre-written book, sometimes I feel so wedded to the material that I don't want to change it because I feel like, well, they put this here for a reason. They must know better than me. But as I got more experience, I realized like if I'm not feeling this encounter, just get rid of it or change it.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just that this particular group that I'm playing with doesn't need this encounter. They need something else or nothing at all. And so you really got to, like Skid said, listen to your players. And I remember just over trusting the book too much and being like, no, we're going to fight these trolls for the 7th time because I think that's what the book wants. We're going to do it, when it's better off like being less repetitive depending on your group.
Yeah, adventure paths are interesting in that way. I often, I've actually, there was a really interesting thing I did on another channel. They said they gave me 8 episodes to do a season of a show. Like, you have your own show, you know, players and stuff. You have 8 episodes for a season. It's like, okay, I want to run one book of an adventure path. How do I condense this down into 8 like 2.5-hour sessions? And that means cutting out tons and tons of stuff, right? And it's like it's like a sprint. But it was a really interesting learning experience. And I think from that, the thing that I would probably have told myself as a kid is, you don't need to write so many fights, but work on saying don't say no to as many things. Like, don't immediately clam up when players want to do something. I have a habit of saying no a lot, mostly because I'm scared of what saying yes will do, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel it'll kind of derail things, or I'll lose control. And what I do is I have this habit of saying, like, when players ask or attempt to do something, I will say no twice. And on the 3rd time, I'll be like, no, you're saying no too much. You gotta be, DMs are supposed to say yes. And then on the 3rd time, I'll let them do whatever they wanted to do. And for them, it feels like they finally earned it. But for me, it's like, no, just let them do it, man.
That's a really good point. I think we can all appreciate that, because if you don't know what the answer is, it's a lot easier to be like, yeah, no, you can't do that, because you don't know how to react if they want to do it. You know, if maybe the rule isn't there, or you don't know the rule, or it's just they're taking the rule in a new direction that you don't feel comfortable with, so you're better off just be like, no, please don't be creative. Whatever you do, don't be creative.
It's more like when they when players try something really creative, like, I want to jump out of the window and tackle the guy. You're like, you hit the window and fall out and hurt yourself. It's like you just kind of give them like a really wishy-washy answer that doesn't let them do something really cool or have their moment. It's just like, okay, yeah, you try and you fail. Let's move on. But I think, as a DM, I need to work on, I wish I had worked on saying yes, and just sort of not just enabling players to have those moments, but also being ready to sort of build those up into really, moments for them to feel good about their characters.
Yeah, totally.
Isn't it funny that we always feel comfortable improvising, like dialogue, but when it comes to improvising a crazy combat like that, like, all right, I want to jump out the window and jump at the person, that we, as GMs, are like, all right, well, hold on, if you gotta roll to hit the window, and then how many feet out? So it's 30 feet, so you're gonna take falling damage, and then I guess that'll give you a +2 instead of being like, roll a d20, and then all right, what'd you roll? All right, you smashed through the window. Now roll another, and just letting it go. Sometimes you're going to probably have the best moments out of that. But yeah, that's something I think we can all really appreciate. You really nailed that.
Do you ever do what I call symbolic rolling? Which is where
What's that?
You ask a player to roll a d20, but it doesn't really matter because you're just like, okay, you smash through the window and you tackle the guy, right? Like, what are you rolling for? You roll a 10, good enough. Like, you do it. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I stonewall players a little bit, so I then give them those moments to shine. Also, as you mentioned, I'm actually fucking awful at improving dialogue. That's my I get so nervous when I have to come up with a fucking speech off the cuff. I don't know how to get better at it. I really don't.
It's hard. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. It's like, I think you have to give yourself permission to sound stupid more than anything else. People are so afraid of sounding silly or saying the wrong thing. I think you just have to. Yeah. It's a matter of just letting yourself go and not worrying about that.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys are you big on voice acting and stuff, or do you guys just kind of let that go?
Oh yeah, no, that I would say that's probably one of the big draws of our show. Is just, I mean, Skid does. I mean, we did a GCP live where Skid was the GM, and he played like 7 different characters. If you didn't know Skid and just listened to the audio of this, you'd think it was 7 different guys doing it. He's just a master of voices like that, and like all my voices tend to be low class Cockney British.
Yeah, that's me. I go. That's where I go
When
too.
in doubt,
by
you can't
default.
go wrong with it. But like, if once in a while I throw in a fun new voice, people love it. But I mean, that's what I mean. Skid, we've played at scenarios before where he has to play tons of different characters. He just loves doing that. But there's some players that like Matthew. He'll always be like, I don't have a voice for this character yet, but I will soon. Like, and then eventually he comes up with a voice. And we try to encourage people like. Start off by just explaining what the character would do. I think my character would do this. And then eventually try saying it as the character in your voice. And then eventually you can put in a Cockney accent. That's all you need at the end of the day. Just go Cockney.
That's a question we get a lot, is how do I get comfortable role-playing my character? And yeah, we tell them, like, don't worry about it at first. If you're not comfortable, just say, well, my character walks through the door and he explains that he's going to kill everyone or whatever. And then eventually, if you do become comfortable, you can morph into actually acting out all this stuff. But you don't have to ever.
That's why, as a DM, I always make sure that like even if my players aren't comfortable doing it, like I'm gonna do the voice, I'm gonna do the acting, I'm gonna address them directly and I've had players say this is, you know, if you as a DM commit to that and you just make that how you do things, the players who are not comfortable will eventually become accustomed to it, right? It becomes a thing that they have been given permission to try, and it might take a little while, but and I always tell players, even like you said, don't be afraid to sound stupid. Like even if it sounds dumb in your head, which it probably will, right? The best thing, the worst thing you could do is give up, right? Just even if it sounds dumb, you just commit to it and you keep doing it, and eventually it'll be fine. It might still sound dumb, but it'll be fine. Yeah. No one's going to laugh at you.
As long as you're committed. You won't be committed.
Yeah.
We won't commit.
Maybe.
Just stay committed. Everything will be fine.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Lot of questions. What's going on, the Hunter Wild? How are you doing, man? Okay, so the Scrap Savant says, I'm looking to start my first campaign of Heroes Unlimited. That's a Palladium superhero system from way back. There aren't really any adventure pass or modules for it. What would be the best way to start writing a campaign from scratch?
That's a tough one. That's the thing about Palladium, is they really wouldn't put any a lot of pre-made. Occasionally they would do a supplemental like paperback that would have like a couple scenarios in it, but for the most part it's true, like they wouldn't have. But for that, like, that's pretty easy. I mean, I would just take one of your favorite comic book superhero stories and adapt that, and just change the names, change the places. I mean, you know.
Oh yeah, steal
literally.
Steal.
Movies, books, comics, right? Like, it doesn't matter if your players have seen it before, right? As long as you kind of change some details, it'll be perfectly fine. And
mash stuff together, like take 2 different plots and take the elements from each, put them together.
Yeah. I say this a lot, but as an artist, like when you're developing your style, it's just stealing from your influences and mashing it together. Yeah. Being a DM is exactly like that, right? You listen to other DMs, you find out what other people are doing. It's like, oh, I really like this story element. I really like the way this person handles this kind of political, this and that. And you just smash them together, and eventually you have something that is uniquely yours.
And it's even better because if you're DMing something, you don't have to worry about any copyright rules or anything else. It's like you can steal liberally, brazenly, and it doesn't matter. The players will love it.
If I was running players through a homebrew, I would just go back to like an old AD&D second module and just repurpose it for them.
My only
no one would know.
My only homebrew game right now is a horror game called Writhing Moon, and it is very much almost a carbon copy of what you would get if you mashed up Bloodborne and BioShock, because I was playing those 2 games and I'm like,
awesome.
These are fucking awesome. I want to do exactly, and so I just smash them together. I steal stuff and rename it, and no one calls me out on it because they're like, I think they know like how obvious it is. Like it's too blatant to to really be like trying to get under anyone's radar. But yeah, man, read comic books, and also if you need hooks, there are tons of like supplements out there, modules and stuff you can steal like hooks from and just repurpose them into your world. Don't worry about building a world, man. Just build something for your players to play and then add on to that.
Agreed.
Right. Couple questions. We're gonna try and get through a couple real quick because we got a lot here, and I just want to grab the last couple cool ones. No, I don't know why. Oh, sorry, Jaggy. I don't know why overseas postage is so expensive. I am fighting with that too. Interesting. The Pickles Lover says, GMing aside, do you guys have any specific skills in Pathfinder, or I guess specific traits that you you like as in a DM or a player? Like what are your favorite things to have, a person bring to the table, I guess? I
like players and DMs who can think on their feet. And that's one of the things that's great. As much trouble as I give Troy, like that's something he's good at, and that's something that the rest of the players, the guys on the podcast, are really good at. That's always the most fun, is when you can have that kind of improvisational experience.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys who can think on their feet, people who can think on their feet.
Yeah, and people who can as we do our best to adhere to the rules as much as possible and try to not be annoying about it. And when we are annoying about it, it's just because, at least in my case, I just want to understand the rule. I don't want to drag the game to a halt, but I want to hammer it down just so okay, now we know this rule. It took us 10 minutes to get here, but now we know this rule. So it's finding that trait in a GM who knows when to keep it moving and knows when it says, okay, well, hold on, let's figure out how swim checks really work. Let's figure out how climb checks really work, or whatever it is. So it's pacing, while also fostering atmosphere, which isn't so rules heavy that it destroys the fun of the what you're trying to create.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a player sort of being able to just let it slide for now, as it accept okay, if the DM says, okay, this is the ruling for now, if we need to go back and correct it, we will, but for now this is it. And being able to just sort of accept that and move on I think is huge. I don't really like playing with people who harp on rules too much. I think for me, my favorite thing to have as a player is just someone who gets excited about who buys into the world, who finds a thing about the campaign or the world and just makes that theirs, right? They think about it outside of the game, they talk about it, they ask you questions about it, players who give you as a DM something to work with. And that enthusiasm always translates. Anytime you have someone who's just enthusiastic about what you as a DM are doing, it's just a great feeling, and it's a great feedback tool.
Absolutely.
That's a great point. Yeah, when you see a player that's excited, you're like, yeah, my hard work paid off.
Yeah. It's I'm doing something right.
I did it.
Yeah, no, players who are really invested and excited make the experience better for everyone else.
All right, this is a really, it's more of a serious question, but I think this probably is a good thing to answer for a lot of the less experienced DMs here or groups. Rapid Reroll says, how long do you keep a trouble player before you remove them from the game? And the follow-up is, or kill their character, but don't do that. That doesn't solve things.
Skid and I are both pretty adamant. I don't want to speak for you, Skid. It's just get him out. If it's not working, get him out.
Fuck him.
Yep.
Next.
You always want to, if it's really not working out and it's ruining everybody's time, best thing you can do as a GM is pull them aside and find a time outside of the game to be like, what's going on here? I feel like you're not enjoying it. I feel like and blame it on yourself. I feel like I'm not doing a good job to get you involved. I feel like the chemistry is off, and then find out what they say. Sometimes that conversation alone is going to be enough for them to be like, well, you know what? I just feel like my character isn't involved, and I might be dragging the story to a halt because I'm trying to force myself in the story, whatever it may be. Sometimes those conversations work. Other times you have those conversations all right, no, I'll totally be better. And then three sessions later, nothing's changed. If it's not working out, it is much better for the longevity of that group to just slowly get that person out and just be like, yo, man, we're gonna end this game, and we're not gonna play next Friday at 8. and then just play next Friday night.
Yeah, I've had to kick a couple players, and it's not fun. It's no fun, but it's sometimes for the game to survive, you have to cull the sick and the weak.
Only the strongest may play D&D with me.
Or the dickish and the flaky, as the case may be.
You're definitely right, though, in the sense that, like, and we mentioned this before, not every group and not every game is right for every player, and there's no shame in that. That's not, like, it's not always going to work. And it really depends on what you mean by a problem player or a trouble player. Like, if they're trouble in the sense that they're, like, actively antagonistic to the group, or, you know, if they're just not getting involved, or, you know, there's tension. Like Troy said, absolutely. I have a rule that whenever dealing with problems like this, it says any solution that doesn't involve sitting down and talking like adults probably is not a solution, right? And yeah, the first thing you can do is, like he said, you know, say like, hey man, I feel like I'm not engaging you. Like, I'm not reaching you. I don't know what. Yeah, I'm having trouble figuring out what you want. What are you looking for? What do you want out of this game? And can we provide it? And if it absolutely can't work, then there's no shame in saying like, hey man, it's just, you know, the rest of the people aren't really having a good time doing this. You know, it happens. It's never fun, right? Especially if you're good friends. It's never a fun thing to kind of remove someone from your group, but sometimes it's necessary.
Mm-hmm. And it can mean the end of a friendship more often than not. But if they're not good Pathfinder or D&D players, you want to be friends with those people.
Yeah.
They're not those people are not your friends.
Right. So at the end of the day, just don't ever make new friends.
No, never.
And you'll be fine.
Yep.
Don't. Sorry,
Never make new friends.
Something because I gotta whisper it. I don't know what it was.
That's the soundest advice that I can offer.
All right. Let's see if we have anything else. Okay. I think that is probably it on the questions, man. We still have a couple left, but they're mostly about pee and also cats, and I guess peeing on cats. I don't know. I skimmed them mostly.
People, just make up your own funny response to those questions and just laugh yourself to sleep later. How about that?
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I don't recommend peeing on cats. That's not a thing that you should probably do. Or if you do,
you don't like it,
don't tell anyone about it at the very least.
Yeah.
Not in my house. Not in my house.
So I think we're kind of coming up on 10 o'clock. So why don't we call that a question session? But man, a big thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you guys for all of your amazing questions. We are, of course, not done here, but we have a couple of things to deal with. But as we kind of wrap things up, Troy and Skid, man, thank you guys so much for hanging out today.
Thank you.
I know I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys certainly did. Before we kind of start wrapping things up, do you wanna tell people a little bit about yourselves, where they can find you online, you know, what you guys get up to, any hooks and plugs, anything you wanna do about that?
Nope.
No, we're good? All right. Stream over. That's it.
We're both extremely private people, and we request that no one try to contact us.
Yeah, don't Google us. No, we in a nutshell, I mean, what do you say? We have a show that drops every Monday at midnight. So Tuesday, midnight Eastern time, the Glass Cannon podcast. On Thursdays, we do a talkback show called Cannon Fodder, which gives you a little, feedback of what happened on that episode. We talk about rules, stuff that happened in the episode, and we also answer listener mail and do other fun stuff. And if you subscribe to our Patreon, everybody at the $5 tier and up gets occasional bonus content. Like tomorrow, we're offering a free to everyone. Doesn't matter if you subscribe to the Patreon or not. Episode 0 of some new and exciting bonus content that is coming out tomorrow at Wednesday, 12 Eastern. And if you do end up enjoying it and subscribing at the $5 tier and up, you will get this new content over the next few weeks. So you'll have a show on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for a little while. And, hopefully once we hit $10,000 on our Patreon, we're going to launch a full second actual play podcast playing some sort of Pathfinder Paizo adventure path. So that's pretty much us in a nutshell. And we also Twitch a lot. Skid, talk about our Twitch. We do a lot of stuff on
we do. Well, Troy is doing Persona 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing Persona 5. He's doing Persona 5 Twitch. Grant and I have been doing a Horizon Zero Dawn Twitch. Hopefully get back to that later in the week. I'm doing Wolfenstein New Order. Doing
good.
that. I'm having a blast with that. I don't play first-person shooters ever. And actually, I'll probably be doing that later tonight. So if you guys want to cross over that. And then Joe occasionally, when he can get away from his baby, we'll do his Skyrim. He plays Lork, his original character from the podcast. He plays that in a game of Skyrim that he put together, and that's really fun to watch as well. So yeah, we do that.
Awesome, man. The shout out link is there. It is SO the Glass Cannon. I gotta type it in. There we go. The link, every link is in chat. The website, the Twitter, the Reddit, the Twitch channel, all that good stuff. So if you guys absolutely want to you should absolutely check these guys out. Show them some love, show them some support, and of course thank them for being here, man, because I had a grand old time hanging out with these guys, and I don't know, man. We definitely should get together and do it in the future. But thank you guys, all of you guys, for coming out. All of your great questions. My name has been Askren. You can see it's right down below me. I am your host here on the Exploding Dice Twitch channel. We do live D&D almost every day of the week. If you want more fuzzy dice, if you want to see me talking DM and D&D stuff with even more people, you got a bonus episode tomorrow. That's Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm hanging out with Holly Conrad from the Dice Camera Action Show. Of course, Saturday evenings we have Writhing Moon, our open legend horror campaign. Fantastic cast, amazing roleplay, and tons of gore. So if you like that stuff, it's a great show to tune in. This Sunday, we're actually starting a brand new Mouse Guard show with Simply JXN, Drunkly Romantic, that Bronze Girl, and of course for DMing. So that's gonna be the inaugural
I definitely want to
episode.
check that out. I want to check that out. I love Mouse Guard. So
it is such a fun game, and it's such a cool comic, and I love playing. We had a test session this past Sunday, and we killed a turtle after buttering it up.
Nice. Nothing like a
buttered
turtle. Yeah.
Just so you know how dedicated I am to this show, my wife is literally crawling on the floor to get past the camera.
Is it
like she's playing Call of Duty? It's kind of amazing.
She does usually come home in a ghillie suit.
Crawling, like it's kind of, here come the cats. We're having.
It's just the whole crew is in. Oh man.
Hi Sam.
Thank you guys to all the followers, man. A ton of new followers. I will Murdertron 3000 and Pen Ace and W Story Y and Ask a Pathfinder and Saturnin and Vincent Cross and Andrew G. Moores and Charismatic Bard and Tumor Seal and the Scrap Savant and Falstaff and Little Red Riding Crop. Thank you guys for following, and thank you GameSpawn for that subscription. If you guys enjoyed the show, please hit that follow button. You can join us here for all kinds of cool content. Check me out on Twitter. It's just at Askren. Dice Thulu will have the link for you there. If you want to, if you really enjoy the show and you want to support Game Wisp or Twitch, subscription is the way to do that. It's just $5, and you get special rank in our Discord, which is right here. You get and just as things are packing up, we get the Not So Speedruns raid. Holy oh no, this is from 4. This is the 4 raid. 4 is actually our DM for Mouse Guard, and he was DMing his own West Marches Mouse Guard game. Let me get a shout out for him. SO on the 4 front. There it is. You guys, if you want to check out another up-and-coming streamer, 4 is the place to be. He's a player in my Writhing Moon game, and just the fluffiest dude you will ever see. Go show him some love. Thank him for the raid. Thank you, raiders. Everyone, ED raid to defend. We are getting mobbed here. Remember the Game With subscription or the Twitch subscription right there. You get a Discord rank, you get custom emotes, and you also get free Nat 20s and inspirations and stuff that you can use in our live games. Thank you for the host, Speedy. What else? Oh, if you want one of these cool Dice Thulu shirts, that's just at !merch. It's right there, as well as the Dice Grenade shirt. I think that is pretty much it. We, of course, are going to make like 4 just did, and we are going to pass the love on to someone who is streaming right now. So let's hit up Twitch and see who is on right now that we can drop a raid on. You know who I think we're going to go check out? We are going to go raid my good friend Laura Lania, who is playing some Dungeons and Dragons right now. We're going to drop the love on her, but as always, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you all. Thank you, Raiders. Thank you to the Glass Cannon crew, the Glass Cannon fan base, and everyone for following. We are going to get out of here. We're going to pass the love on with a raid, so stick around for that. But as always, thank you for watching, and don't let Dice Thulu get his tentacles on you, because he gets very handsy when he does. We'll see you next time, guys. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
guys.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.